Have you ever watched an athlete and felt like they move unbelievably fast? The ball moves, the defender reacts, somehow the athlete already knows exactly where to go next. Every movement feels effortless. Every decision happens instantly. No hesitation, no overthinking, just pure execution. Athletes call this moment being in the zone. Psychologists call it the flow state. It is the strange moment where your conscious mind becomes quiet and your body performs at a level you didn't even know you were capable of. But here's the truth most people don't realize. Flow state is not magic, it is not luck, and it does not happen by accident. Flow state is the reward for years of preparation meeting the perfect challenge. And today, we are going to explore the psychology behind one of the most powerful states the human mind can experience. Chapter 1. What is flow state? So, what exactly is flow state? Psychologists describe flow as a mental state of complete absorption in a task where focus becomes so intense that everything outside the activity disappears. Your attention narrows, your mind becomes quiet, and your performance becomes surprisingly efficient. But researchers discovered something interesting. Flow does not happen randomly. There are very specific conditions that allow the brain to enter this state. One of the most important rules is the challenge-skill balance. If a task is too easy, your brain becomes bored. If a task is too difficult, your brain becomes anxious. Flow exists exactly between those two states. Research suggests that the ideal difficulty should be about 4 to 15% higher than your current ability. Not double. Not impossible, just slightly beyond what feels comfortable. That small gap is important because it forces the brain to stretch without overwhelming it. Imagine lifting weights. If the weight is too light, your muscles don't grow. If the weight is far too heavy, you cannot lift it at all. But if the weight is just slightly heavier than what you are used to, your body adapts. The brain works the same way. When a challenge pushes you just a little beyond your current skill level, your focus increases dramatically. Distractions disappear. Your brain releases chemicals that sharpen attention and learning, and gradually, you begin to enter flow. This is why top performers are constantly adjusting their difficulty level. Professional athletes increase training intensity. Musicians practice faster tempos. Gamers move to harder levels. Entrepreneurs take bigger challenges because they understand something powerful. Flow is not created by comfort. Flow is created when challenge meets preparation at the perfect edge of your ability. And the closer you operate to that edge, the more often your brain will unlock one of the most powerful states human beings can experience. Chapter 2. In between conscious and unconscious. One of the most fascinating parts of the flow state is what happens between your conscious and unconscious mind. Normally, when we perform a task, our conscious mind is in control. This is the part of the brain that thinks step by step. It analyzes, it calculates, it questions every move. And that works well when we are learning something new. But the conscious mind is also slow. It can only process a limited amount of information at one time. Now compare that with your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind is incredibly powerful. It stores years of practice, patterns, reflexes, and automatic skills that you have built over time. When a professional basketball player makes a split-second move, when a pianist plays a complex piece without looking at the keyboard, when a martial artist blocks a punch before they even realize it, that is not conscious thinking. That is the unconscious system taking control. And flow state happens exactly at the moment when these two systems start to work together. Your conscious mind does not disappear, but it becomes quiet. Instead of analyzing every action, it simply guides the direction. Meanwhile, your unconscious mind executes the movements automatically using everything you have practiced for years. This is why people in flow often say something very interesting. They say, "Felt like my body was moving on its own. I wasn't thinking. It just happened." Because during flow, the brain stops overthinking. Your training takes over. Your instincts take over. And the barrier between thinking and doing begins to disappear. But here's the key point. Your unconscious mind can only perform at this level if it has been trained properly. You cannot enter flow in something you have never practiced. Flow is not magic. Flow is mastery being activated. Years of repetition, years of failure, years of training, all stored quietly in the unconscious mind, waiting for the moment when your conscious mind finally gets out of the way. And when that happens, thinking becomes action, effort becomes instinct, and performance becomes something extraordinary. Chapter 3. The brain chemistry of flow. When people describe the flow state, they often talk about the feeling. They say things like, everything slowed down. I felt unstoppable. It was like my body moved by itself. But behind that experience, there is something very real happening inside your brain. Flow state is not just psychological, it is also chemical. When a person enters flow, the brain releases a powerful cocktail of neurochemicals that dramatically change how the brain functions. One of the most important chemicals is dopamine. Dopamine increases focus, motivation, and pattern recognition. This is why during flow you suddenly see opportunities faster. Your brain begins connecting information at a speed that normally feels impossible. Athletes often say they can read the game better when they are in the zone. That is dopamine enhancing their ability to recognize patterns instantly. The second chemical involved is norepinephrine. This chemical sharpens attention and increases alertness. Your brain becomes extremely sensitive to important information while filtering out distractions. That is why when someone enters flow, they can work for hours without noticing their phone, without noticing noise, sometimes even without noticing how much time has passed. The third chemical is endorphin. Endorphins reduce pain and create a feeling of lightness. This is why athletes can push their body beyond normal limits during peak performance. Fatigue feels smaller, pain feels distant. Your body suddenly becomes capable of handling much more pressure. And then there is anandamide. This chemical is sometimes called the bliss molecule. Anandamide increases creativity and flexible thinking. It helps the brain combine ideas in new ways. This is why flow state is not only powerful in sports, but also in music, art, writing, science, and entrepreneurship. Finally, there is serotonin, which often appears after the flow state ends. Serotonin gives a deep feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment. It is the reason why, after finishing an incredible performance or completing a long-focused session, you feel calm, proud, and deeply fulfilled. Now here is the interesting part. These chemicals together create a very powerful reward system. Your brain literally says, "That was amazing, do it again." Which is why people who experience flow often become addicted to the process of mastery. Not because someone forced them, but because their brain now associates deep work with one of the most rewarding states a human being can experience. Conclusion: flow state may look like magic, but behind every magical performance are thousands of unseen hours. Hours of practice, hours of frustration, hours of repetition. Flow is not the starting point. It is the reward for showing up consistently long before anyone is watching. When preparation becomes deep enough and challenge becomes meaningful enough, the mind enters a rare state where thinking becomes quiet and performance becomes extraordinary. That moment, when effort disappears and everything feels perfectly aligned, it reminds us of something powerful. Human potential is far greater than we usually allow ourselves to believe.